Should freckles be a trend, and what most people don't know about freckles? Young children normally have them, and as people progress into adults, they see that during the summer their freckles normally show up more. Now that doesn't mean they're ugly, that doesn't mean that they're bad, that doesn't mean that there's something that you should be ashamed of. People should be able to love and embrace their freckles, but it is kind of an indicator that you've been getting more UV exposure, which means if you have them, be aware of that sun. And speaking of sun, we're going to talk about trends like vacation trends and TikTok trends and why freckle-based products are being sold now on the internet, but they've actually been sold since the 90s, and kind of what this means for skin conditions such as freckles being first hated and people were bullied for them and then becoming trends. And if this is happening to freckles, what does this mean if you have freckles? What does this mean if we want to try fake freckles, which yes, I've actually done before? And then what does this mean for other conditions like acne scars or moles? Will my acne scars ever be a trend? These are questions that I don't know if we have answers to, but we're going to explore. But back to freckles and skin damage. Freckles are a type of macule. It means that they are a flat lesion. There's nothing raised on the skin, but they are discolored and they are under 1 centimeter in diameter. Most freckles are actually around 1 millimeter, or the very, very tip of a pen. If you are a skintellectual and subscribed to this channel, then you've probably heard of the Fitzpatrick photosensitivity scale before. And these type 1s and type 2s actually have a lot to do with freckles. Freckles are more likely to happen to people who are a 1 or a 2 on this scale. This entire scale was created by a Dr. Fitzpatrick, and it basically shows certain skin and how likely they are to burn or have photo damage or even develop skin cancer. And people who are type 1 or type 2 are more prone to photosensitivity, aka light damage, and skin cancer. And it's these type 1s and type 2s that we often see have freckles. Usually these are people who have Irish or Celtic genes. But there are a lot of people who've never realized that black, ebony skin can get freckles. Whether you're a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, or 6, you can get freckles, because freckles aren't exclusive to one skin tone, skin color, or race. They happen across a spectrum. They're just more likely to happen in some than others. And because we're talking about freckles and skin cancer, I know that can sound scary, but I want to make it clear that freckles are not dangerous. They are not bad. They are not something that will develop into skin cancer. Again, if you have freckles, you are more likely to be more prone to sunburns and skin damage and skin cancer. However, freckles in themselves do not become cancerous, and they're not a bad thing. There are just some people who want to get rid of them, and some people who actually want to adopt them, which is what we're going to be speaking about. So when it comes to freckles, when I was a kid, having this curly hair that I was bullied for, having acne, even using a word or two from another language because that's how I was raised, I was bullied, but I didn't have freckles. Now, some of my counterparts in school did have freckles, and although I don't know exactly how they felt, I remember people used to tease them. People used to say that they were freckled or polka dotted, or I think they were called like a leopard, and I don't know how that made some of those people feel. And for a while, I feel like freckles were frowned upon, to an extent, but then all of a sudden they started gaining traction. And now brands are selling freckle pens. We're seeing them as these trends on TikToks. We're even seeing freckle filters. And this is actually quite interesting because it goes to show that skin and skin conditions might be trends. Now, at first, when this kind of came into my mind, I thought, this is so strange. I could never imagine a scar or a mole, hyperpigmentation being trendy. But then we look at Winnie Harlow, who has vitiligo, and her skin in a way has become trendy, or at least she has found a way to accept her vitiligo, and other people are accepting that with her. But when we actually look at the broader scale, bodies have been a trend. Look at people who started out in the 1920s as flappers. It was this very flat figure. Then we went into the 40s and 50s, the Marilyn Monroe era. It was all about this hourglass. We went into the 60s with the hippies. There was another body trend. And then, in the 90s, it was the stick thin, twiggy type of look. And now it's all about that base. I mean, look at the Kardashians. So if bodies can literally be a trend, and if fashion houses and magazines and society can follow these body trends, is that the same for skin? And then why freckles? And let's discuss that. Again, we have these freckles that are semi-permanent. There are people who put them on with makeup tools or with eyeliner. There are other people who actually use henna to kind of create these semi-permanent freckles. Some people who use other dyes on the skin to create this look of freckles, and some people who just use filters. And then there are people who have actual freckles who either go into the sun more so that they can get those freckles to come out and to show a bit more, or people who have freckles who don't like them and want to get rid of them and work really hard to use ingredients such as hydroquinone or antioxidants or even medical treatments to lighten those freckles or that discoloration in their skin. We've seen a huge uptrend in these freckled products and these freckled looks, but these freckled products have actually been around for a while. Chanel, back in the mid-90s, launched their very first freckle pen, and then not long after, Lancome created one. Back in 1995, when Chanel developed this faux freckle pen, the then marketing development manager, his name was Timothy Walcott, and he specifically said that the little girl look was in. Now, I don't know what that means, and of course if you're just taking it at face value, children normally have freckles. Young children normally have freckles, and youth traditionally has always been a sign of beauty. So is this one way that people were doing that? And again, Lancome then launched theirs in I think 2003, so it did actually take some time. And still, I don't think freckles really took off or even became socially, admired, maybe up until the 2010s. And now we have TikTok, and freckles are something that people actually want and they're actually in pursuit of. Now contrast this to what we used to see in these old beauty magazines where they would literally say, freckles, now it's the time to get rid of those ugly spots. Buy this thing to get rid of your freckles, come with us. Perry Edwards is someone who once did feel ashamed of her freckles. She's a singer in Little Mix, and often she felt really ashamed of her skin. Although she grew up feeling that way, she's been quoted by saying that over the last couple of years, I've started to embrace them and I don't feel I need to hide them anymore. And we've actually seen her posting photos on Instagram, embracing her freckles, embracing her skin, and even saying, mermaids have freckles. And that is such awesome representation of this skin condition. Again, not a bad one, not a cancerous one, but a skin condition that we don't always get to see. Now, at the same time, even Meghan Markle has freckles. And she's even been quoted as saying, my pet peeve is when my skin tone is changed and my freckles are airbrushed out of a photo shoot. She really loves her freckles and she doesn't always try to cover them up. So why all of a sudden this switch from hating them and demonizing them to embracing them? Like, what's going on? And when we look a little bit deeper into it, it is normally Fitzpatrick types 1 or 2, who tend to be more Caucasian, that when they literally go on vacation in the sun, they have that sun exposure and gain freckles. And what does it take to go on vacation? Usually money or the ability to travel. So then we start to wonder, what are the socioeconomic implications that lead someone to getting freckles? And then if everybody sees these and they see people embracing their freckles as we should, do people want to try to emulate that? And this leads us down the path of wondering about freckles and even tanning. Is this why society sees tans and freckles as attractive? Is it because it normally happens to a specific Eurocentric beauty standard that has money and ability to travel and go on vacation? And then what does this mean for people who do have different skin types or different skin conditions like scars or moles? Will we ever be able to embrace those? Will those ever be a trend because there's not this monetary or social sort of tie the way that there may be with freckles or tans? And that gets into an even deeper conversation about why tanning is socially acceptable, but why skin bleaching is not. And this girl's been working on a video for 2 years about this with experts because, boy, is that a question that there is no easy answer to. Oh boy, oh boy. By the way, this video is sponsored by the questions that you don't have answers to. Did I leave my hair straightener on? And yes, I ask myself this at 4 a.m., not just when I'm leaving the house. These are the questions that are sponsoring this video. All of the energy that they have consumed out of what's left of our brain cells have graciously decided to work with us to create this content for you to continue to ponder freckles until 4 in the morning to wonder if our skin conditions really should be a trend or not. Which, speaking of, freckles do have risks. Again, people who have the ability to create freckles naturally, if they go in the sun to seek out those freckles, they're more likely to get skin cancer. People who have fair skin and red hair and tend to be more freckled do carry the MC1R gene. This has been linked to the process of skin creating freckles, but also of melanoma, which we know is very dangerous. And at the end of the day, freckles are beautiful, they are wonderful, it's totally okay to embrace them, but they are a form of sun damage, and they are kind of a warning sign that, hey, we've been getting some sun exposure. So if we're endorsing freckles, are we therefore endorsing the propensity to get skin cancer? I think that's a little bit far. But at the same time, what do people with freckles feel about this? First, they're bullied. Now companies are monetizing it, selling products for money for this skin condition. And the freckles are often being adopted by certain races or people with Eurocentric beauty standards. So what does that mean for people who have black, brown, or ebony skin who want to partake in this trend, but people tell them, Black people don't have freckles, when actually, yes, they do. I do want to be completely honest. I have tried the fake freckle thing. I didn't do a very good job. I used an eyeliner or a brow pencil, and the way I drew them on, it just didn't look very authentic on me. But in general, they look very adorable on some people's skin. And this also makes me wonder why moles, or why hyperpigmentation, or other skin conditions like freckles, literally like underneath the umbrella of hyperpigmentation, why aren't those things celebrated? Why aren't we celebrating my acne scars, my literal pimple spots? Will these ever be a trend? Or is it, you know, similar to tanning, that this happens to rich people of a certain socioeconomic status who look a specific way? Is that why this is more desirable or attainable? I don't actually have an answer to that question. And I don't have an answer to the question about skin conditions being trends either, because look at what happened with bodies. When we went through these trends of bodies, we were making people feel insecure about their shape unless you fit with the new one. And I'm sorry, but our bodies are not clothing. We cannot take our skin and our bodies on or off. And of course, marketers loved that because, you know, you can't sell shit to happy people, right? If people are insecure about their body or their skin, or if they're trying to get freckles, and then just imagine a world where they're trying to get the acne scars, or they're trying to get moles, or, you know, we're going from stick thin to big booty to big boobies to tiny boobies, you know, whatever. If we're constantly chasing what we don't have, that makes a lot of people a lot of money. And it would make sense that the media or the people at the top of these companies that control a lot of this and have relationships to politics would want to market and manipulate this for the gain of what? For their pockets? For the economy? For the greater good? I just don't fucking know. The older I get, the more and more I understand monks. And I think don't extrapolate that. I do not understand, nor do I fully comprehend all of the amazing things that monks do. But the older and older I get, and I do actually know a monk, actually two, but the older I get, I really understand just this idea of being still and disconnected and at peace and appreciating the world around us instead of constantly wondering why we look different or what we need to do in order to fit in. Why am I just not good enough as me? And then if I do want to partake in the freckle trend, not because I feel bad about my skin, but because I like it and I want to adopt it, how does that make people with freckles feel, right? Like Winnie Harlow, she has vitiligo. She's beautiful. She embraces her vitiligo. How would she feel, or how would anyone else with vitiligo feel, if people started going out and painting their faces with a dark foundation and a light foundation and giving themselves, you know, these vitiligo patches? Would that be okay, or would it not be? I don't know. I don't know the answer to these things. And that's why I want your opinion. I think that skin is amazing. It's literally a world of its own. It's like a jungle, and there are still so many things we don't know about it. And then even outside of the mysterious anatomy and biology of our beauty, you have those other layers of your personal psychology. You have social psychology. You have consumer behavior. You have socioeconomic trends. You have all of these things that compound together to lead to the thoughts that keep you up at 4 a.m. and then sponsor this video. Hashtag sponsored, not sponsored. My brain hurts. Tell me what you think of this. Also, somebody please tell me what products I need to use on my hair, because you can't sell to happy people, and I'm genuinely a happy person, but you know, this is a little frizzy. I have some emotional trauma from having my hair be called pubes in like the 3rd grade that, you know, still haven't gotten over. So if anyone can help me tame the mane, I would love to embrace the curls in a non-frizzy, you know, non-oily, but still like shiny, glowy type of way. Comments and suggestions are open, baboos. Tell me what you think of all of this, and overall remember to be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in the meme at the end of this video. Love you guys. Bye.